The thing about blacksmithing that attracts me is really it comes down to the fire and the plasticity of the metal. You know, there's something just so sort of elemental about the fire and watching the metal get hot, and then the creativity that's possible. Having this shop is really the dream. It's still certainly a work in progress, but in the last 13 years it's come a long way, and I feel very fortunate every day when I get to walk out here and, you know, be responsible for making stuff. So being a blacksmith is a very challenging way to make a living in the modern era. The first few years here were a real struggle. Things were super tight. Yeah, times were hard, and that went on for several years where there were months where I didn't know how I was going to pay my mortgage, and we were eating beans and rice, and I just got up and went to work every day and trusted that something was going to happen, and eventually the phone rings and you got another job, and you get her done and get paid and keep moving on. As far as the work that I do mostly architectural work, which really is a wide variety of different things, whatever clients want. This is a design that I developed almost 20 years ago now. We started out with a piece of mild steel bar stock. This is 3/8 by 1.5 inches. What I do is I get it hot in my forge. The first step, once it's hot, to isolate off some material for the beak. And so I use a tool called a side set. Chop off a chunk here that gets then squished down and stretched out. Once the head and the neck are sort of done and at least everything is where I want them to be, I once again use my side set and isolate off another chunk of material that becomes the body. And then it's where things kind of get fun. Once the body is established and I've fullered it out and gotten the shape that I want, it's on to shaping. I'll take it to my wooden stump and use a rawhide mallet, sort of move the metal around and manipulate it without disturbing the texture. I typically shape the head at that point and start to bend up the neck. The final step is to cut out with my hot cut again a little bit in the tail area to isolate the leg from the bottom of the body. With these herons, I'm not looking for anatomical accuracy, but it's more of a feeling of a bird. It's a little bit more abstract. So that's my process for making a heron. And I've made a lot of these things over the years, and they end up in different decorative applications. But this is a forging that I worked out a long time ago, and has stuck with me, and I still think it's good and relevant.